Hello everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight.
Doing all this moderation stuff for Discord.
I'm a social media futurist.
Been a moderator at Be Friends.
Now it's my project because I love sports.
I'm speaking at NFT NYC.
Welcome on the show. Welcome everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight and Robert Spotlight, Dr. Jane Thomason. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Robert. Good to be here.
Thank you to have you. Could you describe yourself for people that don't know you?
I'd be happy to describe myself. I think I'm a social blockchain for social impact activist and a Web3 activist to help people understand how important this is for social transformation in the future. Okay, perfect. So I also I have seen that you have done a lot of speaking. You are also you have 2 books, one incoming. So you are very active and did teaching to people. It's big for you. Yes, yeah. I think education's really important because I don't think a lot of people really understand what's going on with Web3 and the Metaverse and NFTs. And a lot of the people who speak about it speak in language that's technical and not easy to understand. So I think there's a big place for talking to people in really simple language, helping them understand why this might be important to them. Okay, perfect. And when that aspect of education came to you, did it something that you always had, even when you were children? Did for example your parents, one of your parents was an educator or this kind of, so where did that come from? No, it just came, so most of my life I wasn't an educator at all. I had my own consulting company in Asia and the Pacific in healthcare. I worked in healthcare, but when I got involved in blockchain in 2016, it was clear to me that with this new technology, very few people could see the prospects, particularly for social impact and sustainability. Everyone was interested in crypto, and no one was thinking about how it was actually going to change society. So I just started out writing about it, speaking about it, and feeling that it was important to tell people how this actually was going to change things. So it's only been a recent thing since 2016, to be honest. Okay, perfect. So let's keep the conversation starting. So how would you describe blockchain for someone that don't know anything about blockchain? Generally, I don't try and do that because it just gets confusing. So what I usually do is say, this is how it's going to change financial inclusion, identity, healthcare, humanitarian. So, it's a distributed database and it has a consensus mechanism and it's immutable and time-stamped, and then everyone's just already gone to sleep or they're confused. So I just generally don't do that unless I'm actually teaching a class in blockchain. Okay, perfect. But so okay, I say, but I do. I say, listen, you want to send money back to your mum in Nigeria? You can do it for free without paying money to American Express and a bank immediately, directly onto her mobile phone. And then they go, wow, that's something. Okay, perfect. So basically you are using real use case for people to really get a grasp of the benefit. Yes. So not talking about the technology, what is the engine, what is behind, but basically what new thing, what a new use case can be happening. Yeah, and what problem can it solve for you? Because why would people be interested if they can't see its utility for them? Okay, perfect. So could you talk about your experience as a speaker? So before having the conversation going, so I just want to know what advice could you give to someone that want to become a speaker?
Yeah, okay. So this is an interesting one because a lot of the conferences and a lot of the speaking is actually what we call pay to play. So a lot of the people who get up and speak have paid to get up and speak. It's kind of like a sponsorship thing. I personally never do that. And I won't do that because I think it compromises the quality of the conference, because you're essentially just listening to people who've paid to get up there and sell their product. So it's actually difficult to get your first speaking slot, and you do have to be a little bit persistent. But most conferences, if you actually see them coming up, they have a link which said apply to speak. And if you want to speak, you need to prepare yourself a really professional looking speaker deck that's got a list of where you've spoken before, what your expertise is, why they would want you to go and speak at their conference. And you can send that to, all of the conferences, and you probably won't get to speak at the top tier conferences immediately. But once you start and you speak, and if you're good, then other people will notice, and then they'll come and ask you to speak at their conference. So it's a bit of a trial and error, and you need to be persistent. And then sometimes if you've got a friend who speaks at conferences, they'll say, hey, listen, I'll recommend you to the conference organizer to give you a slot.
Okay, perfect. And
if anyone thinks that you make money through speaking at conferences, unless you're Bill Clinton, you don't.
So say that again. Sorry, my video just paused a little bit. Could you say that again?
I said, if people think that you're going to make money by speaking at conferences, then they will be very disappointed, because mostly people don't get paid unless you're someone really famous like Bill Clinton.
Okay, makes sense. And basically, when you do the speaking, so I understood that the education, it's something big right now for you. Did there was another intent?
No, my intent is to really clarify how this technology is going to change things or help people. That's my only intent.
Okay, perfect.
And to sort of inspire people to think about those use cases that have utility.
Okay, makes sense. Are you comfortable talking about this change? So it's like let's open up the conversation around, okay, how this technology is going to change the world, and what will you be saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just start with blockchain, because the Web3 journey starts with blockchain, and then there are other aspects of it like decentralized finance and NFTs, and then Metaverse, which is basically immersive Web3. So the areas where blockchain is going to have a significant impact, and we're already starting to see it. So let's start first in terms of financial services. So the most important one for me is financial inclusion, because what it enables is people who can't get a bank account, don't have a bank account, don't have the identity to be able to get a bank account. They can join the economic system simply with a mobile phone using digital assets. So that's the first thing, financial inclusion. People can send and receive money using a mobile phone with blockchain. The second thing, and there's over 450 banks investigating this at the moment, blockchain can make certain aspects of finance much smoother and much more efficient, like settlements and foreign exchange and so forth. And I think we're going to be seeing banks are going to be adopting some of the aspects of blockchain in the way that they're servicing their customers in the future. Supply chain is a really important use case for blockchain. And there are a number of now really quite substantial use case experiments going on at the moment, because the smart contracts and the blockchain can really improve the efficiency, the speed, and the transparency of supply chains. So Maersk, which is a huge shipping company, has a a blockchain project going on at the moment. And there are other projects for poor farmers, trying to enable them to get proper payment for their supplies and their coffee and their cocoa and so forth. So there's in India and in Asia and in Africa, there's a lot of those kinds of projects going on. In healthcare, blockchain enables secure sharing of data. And we saw that happening during the pandemic. It also ensures provenance in supply chains. So there's so many different ways that blockchain itself can be applied. In relation to decentralized finance, DeFi, what this is enabling people to do is virtually everything that happens in the traditional financial system, but without intermediaries. Now, DeFi has got a bad name at the moment because a lot of people have exploited the system, but that's not to say that what's possible with DeFi is not going to be transformative, but it will be regulated, and the regulators are coming, mark my words. With NFTs, similarly, NFTs have got a bad name because of some of the wash trading and money laundering and also just everyone selling drunken monkeys all over the place. But whatever NFTs are going to be in the future is essentially a digital record of almost anything. And I think NFTs have got a huge future. And then finally, Metaverse. I think Metaverse is going to be more than gaming and more than gaming and entertainment and commerce. It's going to be very significant in health, education, and government services.
Okay. And when you blend all this thing all together, what are your view in 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Look, we'll see. So what I think, because you've also got to remember that the generations coming up, so the generations who are going to be the big users of Web3 and Metaverse and DeFi and NFTs, they're the
digital native.
Pardon?
They are digital native already.
Exactly. They're the young people. They're the Gen Alphas and the Gen Zs. And so they're the consumers of the future. So I think that's one wave that's going to take this forward and allow it to really grow is the young people. And the second one that I think is really important is gaming, because there's 3 billion gamers in the world and they already utilize many of the different aspects of technology, immersive environments. They win battles and they get swords and they get all sorts of other things in games, which now can, bringing blockchain into it, can be exchanged for money or taken into other games. So those 3 billion gamers, people are going to be starting to introduce Web3 to them. And as, again, it shows utility for them, so they see the benefit, they get rewards, they get tokens, they can take their money out of a game and get fiat money for it, it's going to speed the adoption at. So that's my thinking. Gaming and young people are the 2 things that's going to speed adoption.
Okay, perfect. And so you talked previously about regulation. What are your vision about the regulation with blockchain technology?
Look, I just think it's inevitable that regulation will come. It's been an unregulated market, and you only need to look at FTX and Celsius and Luna to realize what a catastrophe that's been. The regulators have been slow to move, but I think they're now definitely going to move. And there was a meeting at the G20 of the virtual asset service providers and the regulators in Bali towards the end of last year. And they're starting to develop an agenda for the type of regulation that's going to be developed. So I think what we're going to see is more multi-country collaboration, more jurisdictional collaboration to develop a common approach to regulation of digital assets. So I think we're just going to see that coming. And they're going to move fast and hard to stamp out some of the very bad behaviours that have taken place in this industry over the last number of years.
Okay, perfect. But when you heard the word regulation, did for you that didn't think something about the opposite which is because regulation mean like there is control, but blockchain in itself, it's permissionless. So there is nothing kind of it's strange to have that. What is your
Look? I think no, but I think it's the because where blockchain came from, right? It came out of the global financial crisis. It was a rejection of the traditional financial system. And, you know, you go to consensus conferences and there's signs there going F government and F banks. And that's the group of people who built this. They were libertarians and they were anarchists. And that's the history of blockchain. But what we've seen over the course of the last 9 or so years is that people are understanding and people are seeing that there's, tremendous, frankly, criminality in this industry. And it's not good for the serious people who are trying to build something that transforms the world. Because if you're building a new financial system where people steal hundreds of millions of dollars out of DeFi projects, that's not a good financial system. So we need to protect those things that are good about blockchain, that give benefit to people. And unfortunately, we've proven over the last 10 years that our community can't be trusted. There's bad actors in our community. And so the only way to deal with that is through regulation. And government wants to protect consumers. They don't want them to lose their money. They don't want the terrorists to use blockchains for sending their money around the world. And they don't want the money launderers using it. So that's not an unreasonable position.
I understood, but there is also, in my perspective, also the aspect of keeping the control. Because if blockchain is implemented with the real ethos, it's like government have no say to anything. So in my perspective, regulation makes sense on oh, there was a little echo. Could you hear me?
Sorry?
Could you hear me? Because I just heard my voice back.
I could hear you. I just couldn't quite hear what your question was. You were saying regulation makes sense.
Yes. I haven't finished my point. In fact, what I'm trying to say, it's I do believe that yes, there is a good intent behind regulation, but for me, it's not just good intent. There is also the intent of not losing the control, because as I was saying, it's if blockchain it's deployed as it should be, meaning permissionless, government have no say on anything. I'm just talking about the best.
I guess you're putting a kind of philosophical position forward. I think that the issues that we're starting to see are that it is unlikely that purely public and permissionless blockchains will be the only things that are going to be deployed. Because if you're looking at some of the use cases with social utility, if you're looking at healthcare, for example, that's very unlikely to be done on a public blockchain. As some of the banking applications, their financial institutions are unlikely to want to be on a public blockchain. So I think this debate, which I know is quite polarized between public and private and permission blockchains, is important to think about in the context of different industries. But if you're really thinking about control, what we should be very cautious and mindful of actually is central bank digital currencies, because those will surely give governments a much higher level of control and transparency over who's spending what on what, and enabling them to provide a much higher level. I think we have to watch the Chinese digital yuan with a good degree of caution, because I think that's going to be the cautionary tale. But it's a big conversation. It's not one thing or another, but there's a whole lot of different aspects to the conversation that need to come into it. And I think there's some industries that will benefit hugely from blockchain, but they won't be public blockchains.
Okay, makes sense. So it's why I was asking you the question, because even me, it's a kind of questions that I have at this moment, thinking, okay, where we are going, and did that make sense? Taking that in account. For example, another thing that I have in mind, it's blockchain, so it's decentralized. But the more I look into what it's built on top of the blockchain, and the more I see centralized things, so it's kind of, for me, it don't make sense. So on that part, what is your perspective? What do you think about what I just said?
No, I think it's true, and I think it's sort of various, because people talk about the blockchain trilemma, between security and scalability and so forth. And so there's going to be levels of decentralization, but also clearly people talk about DAOs as decentralized autonomous organizations. And if you do research into DAOs, you can see that many of them are not fully decentralized at all. They all have points of centralization. So I think we talk a lot about decentralization, but we don't always understand the extent to which the decentralization takes place, and the fact that you still often have small groups of people who maybe own a lot of tokens, therefore they're effectively controlling a DAO, for example. The people who maintain the technology have more control because they're the ones who keep it going. The protocol itself is centralizing. So, I just think you have to look at all aspects of it and not just blindly go, everything's decentralized and it's permissionless and it's free and this is great. Because if you look closely, that's not the case.
Yes. And when you look closely, in your perspective, what is really decentralized today?
No, I think it's highly variable. And I mean, one of the things that I did during the pandemic was really looking into DeFi and the protocols and the governance of the protocols, and trying to understand, do these marvelous decentralized autonomous organizations exist? And it's a spectrum. Some are highly decentralized and their governance and the way the community interacts is really well managed and innovative, and others are not. So there's no answer to that. I think it varies very much depending on the project and the people who are behind it. So I think we've got a long way to go yet in terms of what we can achieve with decentralization. I think the promise is enormous, but we haven't come as far as, we probably would have been dreaming about back in 2016.
Okay, perfect. So to get back a little bit on the use case. So you talk about entertainment, you talk about healthcare, you talk about supply chain, and you give some ideas, on how that technology can improve this industry. Are you advising anyone, any company or any kind of firm that want to make the bridge between today I'm not using any blockchain technology on my day-to-day activities, and I want to move on that thing? Do you advise anyone?
So yes. So I work with a few startups that I think are doing really interesting things, and I've been advising a number of them since 2017. I also work with governments and companies who want to understand about this and who want to understand how they might think about deploying it within their company or within their industry, or, in the case of government, how it might be relevant for what they want to do. So, yes, that's something that I do.
Okay. And usually when let's say, when someone get to you, or request your time and your brain, basically, what are the kind of the generic advice that you can give? Did there is any generic advice, or did it's always kind of first, let's make an audit, and after I'm going to give something very specific for you?
No, look, I don't give generic advice because I need to understand, what their industry is, what their problems are, what they're trying to achieve. And then, I curate my advice based on that. But I don't say, jump in, spend $1 billion, this is a great idea. In any event, I think that they need to really think about whether this is something that's going to be of benefit to their business, and then explore the different ways that they can move into it. Because obviously they don't need to go and build their own metaverse, for example, or build their own blockchain, but they need to have a way of understanding what's out there that they could use, whether it's a protocol or whether it's, metaverse as a service, or whether it's it's someone who creates NFTs for them, because how do they know who are the quality providers out there? So I think that's the second challenge. The first challenge is to understand how it might support them in what they're trying to do. And the second one is to go and find credible companies with a track record that can actually build what they need.
Okay. And are you helping them on the two parts?
What do you mean?
So you said that there is a two challenge, So first, knowing what needs to happen, and secondly, to know who are the trusted partners that can help them to build the thing. So the my question was, are you helping them also to connect with trustful entities?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And recently, which project, if you can disclose it, or if you cannot talk about it, maybe stay kind of a broad reply, but did there is something that you work on recently that really excites you?
I'm constantly excited. There's so many really, really interesting things going on. I've been working with the Slovenians, because they're into the metaverse and they're into sustainability, and they built a sustainability metaverse at COP in Egypt. And we're working together on building the World Metaverse Council. And a big part of that is going to be around sustainability. So here in the UAE, COP is coming here in the end of this year. And so there's a lot of exciting things going on about sustainability here. And in fact, Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week starts tomorrow. So, they're the areas that I'm most excited about at the moment. And every day something amazing is going on. And, UAE is quite a technology hub. So it's a very interesting place to be.
Okay, perfect. And currently, what would be your biggest problem?
My biggest problem is no one in blockchain ever wants to pay you for anything. I've got so many useless tokens. No, I'm only joking. But you do get a lot of tokens in this game. Look, I think it's not really a problem, but it's just creating really high quality, credible education and giving people access to that is, what I want to do and what I'm trying to do. And I don't think it's a problem. It just takes work to get there.
Okay. And so it takes work. And have you been able to find a kind of a team, or having some part of your workflow that is delegated, to help you go much faster? Or basically, have you been able to bring people to come help you building that thing?
Yeah, look, a lot of people are keen to help, and personally, I use Upwork a lot. I used to have a big company with 650 staff, and I mean, I have moved on from that, and I'm really interested in what I can do myself with a little bit of help. So I use a lot of people from all around the world with different technical skills when I need them. So, but that's just me, and that's the stage that I'm at. I'm not trying to build a unicorn. I'm just trying to get really high quality education out there to people.
Okay, perfect. And so today, where people can find that education?
They can go on my LinkedIn. Most of the things I do are on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. And I saw online that you said that your journey, your Web3 journey started in 2018.
2016, actually.
Okay, 2016. What are the things that you know right now that you would have loved to know at the beginning of your journey?
I know. Look, I have had the most amazing journey, and I've learned so much every day. This has been an incredible new world to be part of. But the thing that I know and that I really have appreciated is how supportive and connected and warm and helpful the blockchain community is. I don't think ever in my life, to be honest with you, until I got involved in blockchain, have I had, such a connected community of people all around the world who are all interested in supporting each other and helping each other and trying to take this industry forward. I'm glad I know that now, because I never knew that. I never had that experience before, and it's the best thing.
Okay, perfect. What could you say to someone that never play with anything in Web3 and it's kind of, I don't want to go there? What would you want to say to that kind of person?
Well, so if they don't want to go there at all, then they're not going to go there, unless they see a reason why it's going to be good for them. They can go and see their favorite singer, in a concert in the metaverse or something, or they can start making a little bit of money with their savings with DeFi in a way that they hadn't been able to do it before. So, I think if there's no interest, that's one thing. But most people are interested, but they don't know where to go, and they're a bit nervous of doing things. So I'd say to people who are interested but don't know how to start, get on YouTube, get on the internet, read what you can, watch what people have got to say, start going to meetups, find people in your area who are having meetups around Web3, so you can start meeting different people and learning a bit there. And then, if you're still interested, go to some conferences and meet more people there, because I think you start connecting with people in the community, you start to find a place that might work for you, where you can be part of all of this. But you need to have the initial courage to get out there and go start meeting people.
Okay,
but you can meet people online. I mean, that's the beauty of LinkedIn. You can find someone you're interested in on LinkedIn and then connect with them and follow them. And I think we have so much opportunity to build community and access people that we never had before.
It's true. And what is on your on your news? What is happening for you on your news? On maybe that month or this quarter.
Yeah,
what is happening on your world?
Well, in my world, lots of things. Well, I'm going to Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. I'm going to Saudi Arabia to speak at a big technology conference, and also to talk about their Metaverse strategy. I'm going to London to meet a number of different colleagues to talk about social impact, and working with the people who launched Impact AM, working with the Youth Hub here to develop some sustainability hackathons and startups before COP, and building the World Metaverse Council. So, yeah, I think that'll keep me going for the next 2 months.
Yes, it's a kind of a busy schedule. You talk about Impact AM, right?
Yeah.
What is that?
So, City AM in London is was the biggest daily newspaper in London before the pandemic, and they had a sort of a subset called Crypto AM, which started up, I think, in around 2017, which provided all of the news for the crypto community, and has built a really big community, not just in terms of news, but very active, and they have the awards every year. So City AM has now launched Impact AM, which is their impact focus news, which launched last month. It had its first edition of its magazine, and it's going to be producing blogs and videos and podcasts and all sorts of things. So I'm going to meet with the person who's launched that to look at collaboration with Impact AM. But it's really a movement to accelerate people learning and thinking about technology and social impact and what it can do and why it's important.
Okay, perfect. So you talk about a journal. My question is, how do you stay up to date with you know, that world it's moving every day, you know? So how do you stay up to date?
It's difficult, but what I do every morning when I wake up, I look at my LinkedIn, Twitter, Telegram, Instagram feeds, and every day that takes me an hour, but so many different things on my WhatsApp groups as well. Every day when I wake up, there's a whole lot of new news and information and things to follow up on. So really, that's where I get most of my information from, because those groups tend to be people who are in the industry and who are very close to what's going on, and they share information. So that's my main source of information. I mean, people will post reports that have been written by Deloitte or someone as well, and that's where I start my day. And so every day I start with learning.
Okay, perfect. And have you find any way to either speed up the process of learning this way, or to find you know, curated news information? Did you have any insight on that side?
No, but I'm really I want to have a look at ChatGPT, because this seems like something that's going to be super helpful. But when I went on the site a couple of days ago, it said that there were too many people on the site and it couldn't help me. But, you know, I think things like that. I tend not to look at external curated news feeds, only because the groups that I'm in are full of so many really smart, amazing people that they're the most up-to-date people that I know, and so I tend to use that.
Okay, perfect. So as you just said, you never use ChatGPT? You haven't been
Not
used,
yet. I've been trying to use it.
Okay.
I've been trying to use it.
You will be amazed, because the capability, it's really crazy, and that will help you basically. Or I can advise you to use it. It's either to have a kind of speed up a brainstorming, or you know, summarizing a big piece of information. You know, it's basically there is unlimited option to use it, but based on what I just heard, I think that will help you a lot, you know, on this aspect.
No, I'm excited to use it, but I was trying to use it on Google, which was where it said that it too many people were on it. But there seem to be some apps that you can use that you need to subscribe to, that you get access to it. So I think that's probably the next step.
Or what are you referring to? Are you still talking about ChatGPT or something else?
ChatGPT. Do you use it through an app or through Google?
It's through Google.
Yeah, well, Google froze me out the other day. I'll try again.
Okay. Yes, it's I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, when you wanted to go on chat open AI, you was saying like, you know, we can take anything anymore. But today, today I play with it and it was working fine. But
okay,
it's just that
well,
I lost all my previous thread, because right now when you are starting to do something, it's going to keep the thread. You know, it's going to name what you try to achieve, and it's going to keep it. But I lose all my previous thread during that week. But if you try it, you should be able to access it.
Oh, no. Well, when we finish, I'm going straight on to it because I'm really hungry to learn about it.
Yes. And did there was something that you wanted to talk about and I didn't offer you the opportunity?
No, it's been a great conversation and I really appreciate it. I think only to really kind of reiterate that I think it's really important if we want people to embrace Web3 or blockchain, we need to give them a reason to. So we need to do two things. One is to provide them with understandable use cases so they can see why they should be bothered. But the second one, and this really is a blockchain / Web3 problem, we've got to improve the user experience because it's still clunky and difficult and people have got wallets and private keys and, you know, all sorts of other impediments to making it easy to use. So as people are continuing to innovate and develop the technology, that whole issue of user experience needs to be vastly improved if we want, you know, really widespread adoption.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for your time, Dr. Jane Thomason. It was a very great conversation, and so you have a busy schedule. You are going to be all over the world in the next 2 months. People should follow you on LinkedIn. It's where you
I
are the
put
most
most
active.
of my things on LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so I believe that if someone look up Dr. Jane Thomason is going to be able to find you.
Yep, and they're very welcome.
Perfect. So thank you again, and I'm going to see you on LinkedIn. So.
Okay, thanks so much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.